All right, let's talk about a big one, James Joyce's Ulysses. It's famous for being, well, for being really, really difficult. But what if I told you there's an ancient key, a secret map, that helps unlock its entire structure? That's what we're going to get into today.
So where do you even start with a book like this? Well, believe it or not, it all begins right here with Homer's Odyssey. Joyce himself said he used this ancient Greek epic as a kind of ground plan for his novel. It was his way of taking the messy, chaotic reality of modern life and giving it this grand, mythic shape. So let's dive in and see how he pulled it off.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the blueprint itself. Then we'll meet our modern heroes. After that, we'll see how their journey gets a major remix, and we'll walk through their epic day in Dublin. And finally, we'll get to the big question. Why does any of this even matter?
Okay, first up, an ancient blueprint. Before we see the similarities, we kind of have to understand just how different these two masterpieces really are.
Okay, just look at this. This is what's so absolutely wild about Joyce's ambition. You have the Odyssey, a 10-year journey across mythical seas full of gods and monsters told as an epic poem. And then Joyce comes along and decides, you know what? I'm going to take that entire structure and squeeze it into a single 18-hour day. And not for some warrior king, but for a totally ordinary advertising canvasser on the very real streets of 1904 Dublin. It's a complete shift from mythic time to human time. Right, so Section 2, meet the modern heroes. See, Joyce didn't just borrow the plot, he filled his version of Dublin with modern-day doppelgangers of Homer's most famous characters. Let's meet the cast. So here's your main trio. In Homer's corner, you have Odysseus, the great wandering hero. His modern counterpart, Leopold Bloom, whose epic journey is just trying to get through the day and back to his own bed. Then there's Telemachus, the son searching for his dad, and that role is filled by Stephen Dedalus, a young, brooding artist who's pretty lost and looking for a father figure. And Penelope, the famously faithful wife, well, that would be Molly Bloom, and let's just say her take on faithfulness is, a lot more complicated. But here's the thing, Bloom isn't just a carbon copy of Odysseus, not even close. I mean, Joyce gives him all these different names throughout the book, and that's because, unlike the heroes of old, Bloom is flexible, he's multifaceted, he's a sign of the modern person. He's an outsider, a gentle guy. He is way more complex than a simple warrior king. And this brings us to a really crucial point. Section 3, a hero's journey remixed. Because Joyce isn't just following the old map here, he's drawing a completely new one for what it even means to be a hero. Just think about the climax of the Odyssey, right? It is brutal. Odysseus gets home, and it is a straight-up bloodbath. He slaughters 108 suitors to reclaim his house and his wife. It's all about restoring order through absolute epic violence. So what about Bloom? He comes home and he knows his wife is having an affair, but is there a big showdown? A violent confrontation? No. His battle is completely internal. It's this quiet psychological wrestling match with his own emotions, envy, jealousy, and ultimately equanimity. He chooses a kind of complex acceptance over revenge. That's a totally different kind of heroism. And this, right here, just lays it all out so perfectly. Odysseus's journey is external. He's fighting actual monsters, angry gods, and physical battles. Bloom's journey? It's all internal. His monsters are things like grief, jealousy, and the feeling of being an outsider. He's not navigating the Aegean Sea. He's navigating his own consciousness. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Section 4, an epic day in Dublin. Joyce structures each chapter, or episode as he called them, to mirror a specific adventure from the Odyssey. This is where the magic happens, where the ordinary streets of Dublin become totally mythic. For example, you have the Hades episode. In the Odyssey, that's when Odysseus literally travels to the underworld to speak with the dead. What's Bloom's version? He attends a friend's funeral at a cemetery. A simple trip to a graveyard becomes a modern descent into the land of the dead, where he thinks about life, death, and memory. Or what about this one? Remember the Lestrygonians from the Odyssey? The giant cannibals who destroy Odysseus's fleet? Joyce reimagines that terror as the Dublin lunch rush. Just the chaotic, ravenous energy of people shoving food in their faces. It's hilarious and kind of brilliant.
And then you have Circe, the powerful witch who literally turns men into pigs. Her modern counterpart, a brothel madam in Dublin's red light district. There's no magic potion here. Instead, the whole chapter descends into this surreal, hallucinatory trip that exposes the character's innermost and sometimes animalistic desires. It's a psychological transformation, not a magical one.
All right, so why? Why go through all this trouble? Was this just Joyce showing off, creating some elaborate literary puzzle? Let's get to our final section, the modern epic, and figure out why this whole parallel is so important.
You know, people were arguing about this from day one. You had major critics like T.S. Eliot who thought it was an act of pure genius, a way to give structure to the chaos of the modern age. But then you had others, like his friend Ezra Pound, who kind of shrugged it off as mere mechanics, just a gimmick. But Joyce's real goal was, I think, much deeper than just providing a neat framework. He wasn't using this ancient myth to give us easy answers. He was using it to ask us huge new questions, like, what does being a hero even look like anymore? What does courage or wisdom mean when you're just an ordinary person trying to get through the day?
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? By laying this ancient, epic map over a single, ordinary day, Joyce does something amazing. He elevates and celebrates everyday life. He's saying that your struggles, dealing with jealousy, going to a funeral, navigating a crowded lunch spot, can be just as profound, just as heroic as battling a cyclops. And that just leaves you with this incredible final thought. If an ordinary day can be an epic, what does that make our own lives? What Joyce shows us is that heroism isn't just reserved for warrior kings in ancient poems. It's found in kindness, in tolerance, in the quiet endurance of just getting by. It suggests that every single one of our days has the potential to be its own Odyssey,